Here we go. Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who Review, episode number 124. So, this one in particular, this is going to be quite interesting because with this particular one, I'm discussing here the final story to review for season 10 of the show, Carnival Monsters. Yes, Carnival Monsters. Which, I do not own this one, surprisingly. Nope, this is something, no, this is the only story from Season 10 I don't own. You're like, really? You don't own this one? Yeah, I just don't, sadly. The episodes is a 4-part release from January 27th to February 17th of 1973. Yeah, this one is quite interesting. So, Doctor and Joe, this is basically the third Doctor, this is John Pertwee. Yep, John Pertwee. By the way, 10th season was also his second to last season of the show. Because he would leave the very next season. At the end. And this will also be Joe Grant's last season too. I'll get to more later. So, we have the Doctor and Joe end up on this ship. And they think, it might be Mid-Midis 3. And nope, it's not Mid-Midis 3. This begins a... Well, actually, this kind of began at the end of the previous story, where it becomes a major plot idea to go to this planet, and, well, it does not get wrapped up until, I kid you not, it does not get wrapped up until, I think, the Green Death. That's when they wrap up the story, and, of course, they have a loose follow-up to this in Planet of the Spiders. So, yeah, and we discovered that this actually, the ship is part of this thing, which is mentioned in later episodes, be a mind scope, basically a mini scope. Basically, we describe sort of like a peep show. Basically, look at all this cute, cool stuff. And we have a ringmaster, and an assistant, like a magician, like a magic show. And they're on this alien plane, which they act really weird. They mention, they have no army because, and apparently the people on this planet are so bored. Yeah, probably by far, these guys are probably the most boringest species I've ever seen. Also, for some weird reason, I'm not sure why this is, the outfits these people wear are the same outfits from the previous story for the show, The Three Doctors. You're like, really? Yeah, if you watch the story, the outfits these guys wear, the same outfits the Time Lords wore in the previous story. Why the heck they decided to reuse these costumes one story later, though this aired right after... Three Doctors. Apparently this was made after the one of the stories from season 9 of the show, Time Monster. Yeah. So, and of course, basically, that the people repeating lines once every 10 minutes. And we have this particular naval officer who's played by Ian Morton. Who is this guy? This is guy who played Harry Sullivan just 2 years after this. So this story here is actually his debut in Doctor Who. He would actually appear in 2 years from this point in season 12. We appeared at the start of the season, and he would actually leave the show. His final regular appearance would be the start of season 13. Come back for Alien Invasion, and then he came back, I think, for a movie, after this. He wrote Doctor Who novels, and then later he died in 1981. Yeah. And apparently they're on the Indian Ocean going to, Bombay, India, where you have these... Also reading this book, which apparently read for a long time, of course, yeah, I'm sure the actors probably didn't like the fact they had to basically do the same thing over and over again with the same scene. Why particularly they have to do this, where they repeat the same lines, every time, which is just baffling. Yeah, and the Doctor discovers they're in a mind scope looking around, and I think outside of the ship, of this great portal, which, by the way, people on the ship cannot see because it's not a metal from Earth, and they can't see because their subconscious doesn't see it, per se. Even though they walk over this door a lot. So, they probably think, it must be a deck plane of the ship. So, then, of course, basically, the Doctor opens up the thing, gets out with Joe, and then they up another area which has these creatures that are like giant snakes. who end up chasing him outside of this little habitat, breaking through the freaking wall and smashing into a bunch of circuits. Now, also in this, they had this little cliffhanger, real cool cliffhanger at the end of part 1, where they discovered this by having there's a hand that comes and tries to grab the TARDIS, but they put it back in 1 or 2 times. The second time they do it, they take it out, and then the course goes back to normal size because compression. And no, this has nothing to do with the Master, despite the fact he actually pops up in the following story, Frontier in Space. Yeah, also, I should point out, though, that something interesting with the unit. They're in the opening story, 3 Doctors, which came just for this one. And then they appear in the last story, but the 3 stories in between, they do not appear at all. Not really, no. Because they're being slowly phased out of the show. This is the start of the process of phasing out, and you could probably think that Robot was basically more emphasis to being phased out because no longer needed, despite the fact they do pop up a few more times after this. So, yeah, and then I think it was the end of part 3, I think it was, Doctor himself gets outside of the Mind Scope, and by the way, he does not. By the way, it's revealed he actually is the one who banned these damn things because of the fact they're a violation of like intelligent beings, and the only reason why they were banned because apparently the Time Lord's like, okay, you made your point, we'll ban them, and they were pretty much all destroyed except this one. Why this one in particular wasn't destroyed like the other one? Apparently they mentioned, oh yeah, everybody who was in these habitats all returned. These things were destroyed. As why this one wasn't into it is never really explained. It's like they establish it early on about these things and then just drop it when the story's over. And it's assuming the guy knows what he's doing, trying to fix the damn thing, but nope. Turns out he has no idea how to basically fix the damn thing because he didn't build it. He won it at an auction. Yep. And also during this, there's these like 2 people conspiring to overthrow the chairman of this missions board. And they all sabotage his Eradicator laser beam. And when the Doctor meets up with the guy, like, who are you? It's like, are you the authority? Like, kind of, yes. Well, good. And they apparently think that he is from Earth because he looks human, despite the fact he's not. He does not tell them that he's a Time Lord. He never speaks to them about that at all. Which is like, really? Wouldn't that draw their attention? I'm sure they probably heard of Time Lords. I'm sure they have. This happened Hand of Fear 2, where Eldrin kind of, he/she knew about the Time Lords. And this one's like, nope. It's like, yeah, they mention them. But, do they mention these people? Nope. And by the way, these people are just people with gray skin who look like they're one of those species that was from the original Dalek story. Yeah, I'm sure this was a reused idea from that, per se, but I'm like, yeah. So, then at one point the creatures break into the ship in the ocean, fake in the ocean, and then, of course, they blow a hole in the ship, which, by the way, the people on the ship do not see a giant hole in a wall, seeing the circuitry. They don't see it at all. Why the heck this is? Never. It's not exactly explained per se. They explain, oh, maybe there's some conscious. I'm like, it's a big hole. How do they miss a big hole? That, by the way, the guy who's not Harry Sullivan, so I guess his actor, blew this hole up in the first place. Actually expanded it. Because about Carnival creatures. Eventually, 2 of these creatures got actually 3 of them. Where the third one went, don't really know. Actually, I think this one was killed. And the other 2, thanks to like kind of helping these 2 escape from the habitat. These screws go normal size, cause a mass panic. So then the Ringmaster proceeded to use the Eradicator, which apparently he found the device to fix the damn thing, and proceed to destroy them. And apparently declared basically the world's hero. And he doesn't know how to make money because the thing is destroyed. So, oh, by the way, the Doctor proceeds to program the TARDIS to return everybody to the proper time and space. So in the ocean, they go back to 1926. where the guy who basically, oh, I'll read this book on, and like he finished the book, oh, well, that's a long book, and you're like, so disappointed with the ending. He's like, going back to his daughter. Of course, mentioned about the other character. Nice happy ending for this one. Sadly put, this does not lead to anything per se. It just the end of the story. Moving on from that, basically, it just, now, if you're really curious, do, in fact, apparently the story was going to feature a appearance by a Cyberman. So, apparently Joe used her skeleton keys to use skeletons to get out of the room. So, you're probably curious though, like, do any of the characters from the story appear again after this? Not really, no. The whole idea of Mind Scope, that does return a few times after this, but the characters of the story, nope, they don't. They do explain how the beta Mind Scopes happen in the prose novel Empire Glass. It's almost like, aside from the fact that this has appearance here by a Cyberman, which I may have missed it per se, because somehow a Cyberman briefly appeared in the story, because I didn't see it, and this episode is noteworthy for featuring a brief cameo by a Cyberman, the only time that the Cyberman ever appeared during John Pertwee's era. Of course, you wouldn't count the Cyberman until 5 Doctors. Yes, it is an interesting story for what it is. It's not a terrible story per se, but do I think it's the weakest story of the season? I'd say yes. So, my rankings. Because now, let's talk about basic and final thoughts on this season. These 3 DVDs here is basically most of Season 10, except for Carnival of Monsters. This DVD right here, Dalek War, this contains both Frontier Space and Planet of the Daleks. So, we start with a bang with one of my favorite classic Doctor Who stories, The 3 Doctors. An amazing start. Of course, we have the story to talk about here, for this one here. And then we have Frontier Space and Planet of Daleks, a 2 continuous one, which both stories were really good. And then finally, we end off with the outlandish Green Death, which there is follow-up this one. Carnival of Monsters doesn't get much follow-up at all. It is the only story of these 3 that does not get follow-up at all. All these 4 stories. So, okay, so to rank them. So, basically, there are only 5 stories for Season 10. Like, really? 5? Yeah, 5. Now, this story here was like 4 episodes. The 3 Doctors was a 4-parter. As for the next 2 stories particular, which was Frontier in Space and Planet Daleks, Frontier in Space was 6 parts. Planet of the Daleks was all 6 parts. And the Green Death, the last story of the season, was all 6 parts as well. So, yeah. How do I rank these 5 stories? Well, in terms, basically, of how I personally feel about them. So, I give the rank number 5 to the story I just reviewed here in this episode, Carnival of Monsters. Okay? So, what do I give the number 4 slot? I give that to the final story of the season, The Green Death. It is noteworthy for departures of Mike Gates as a regular, though he does appear once in the following season, and the final regular appearance of Joe Grant in the show, though the actor does come back a couple times after this. In the current era, she guest starred in a 2-part story for Sarah Jane Adventures, and she popped up, I think probably get in the most recent Doctor Who stuff, but that's been it. That's what I give number 4. For number 3, I give that to Frontier in Space. Yep, I get Frontier in Space. Number 2 is Planet of the Daleks. Yeah, though Frontier in Space is also noteworthy for being the final appearance of the Raj Delgado Master. This was his last time appearing on the show. Last time also Master appeared for several years. He would not appear again until season 14 of the show with The Deadly Assassin. And number 1, I think anybody can probably tell this is probably the best story of the season, and one of my purest favorites. Number 1 is the opening story, The Three Doctors. Yep. So you're probably thinking, was the season impactful? It definitely was. Oh heck yes, definitely was. It is overall like a banger of a season. Like for somebody 10 years, the show did a really good job. Basically, just bringing stuff like the Three Doctors thing was amazing. I love that one. Frontier in Space and Planet of Daleks, I thought that was really cool too. Though of course, Frontier in Space is one of the rare times where the cliffhanger of that one leads directly into the very next story. This happened a few times during Second Doctor. And I think it happened also a few times during First Doctor. The Third Doctor, for his stories, it didn't happen very often, where you had a story leading to the very next story. You're probably thinking, was anything like that in Season 7? No. Excuse me. Season 8, I don't remember because I haven't finished watching Season 8 yet. 9... not that I can think of, no. Frontier Space and Planet Daleks, I think, are the only times, one or two times I could think of, where you have the ending of the story lead into the very next story of the show. And you're like, really? Yeah, really. Like, it didn't happen very often, but much during John Pertwee's era. Like, you probably think this happened with Season 11. Well, it kind of did. Planet Spiders led into the opening story, Robot. So, in a way, it only happened technically twice. The entire show. You're like, really? Twice? In John Pertwee? Yeah, happened twice. In the case of, well, of stuff leading to another, this of course has happened with Generation Stories template led into Power of Daleks. I think it was Moonbase led into Macro Terror. And then you had Faceless Ones leading to Evil Daleks, and Evil Daleks led into Tomb of the Cybermen. So it happened a lot more during Patrick Troughton's one. Pertwee only happened like during the show, during his run. Only happened once, though. Yes, the regeneration of the one did lead to the very next one. It's to happen there, but it didn't happen a lot. Probably because basically, I think they were trying to keep it very much standalone. Yes, they have sequel stuff, but they won't keep it like that well connected from the previous story. It's like very much standalone. Though Season 8 did have a story arc with it, with basically the whole thing, the Master. But overall, out of 26 seasons, I've now finished seasons 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, and 21. So of the original 26 seasons, I have now finished reviewing now 12 out of 26 seasons, which means there was exactly 14 left. Yep, 14 left. And also, with this particular one, for John Pertwee, he has exactly 6 stories left. You're like, really? 6? Yeah, 6. So he's not going to take very long to get through. Not really, no, but the very next story I'm hoping to go through is one of Tom Baker's stories. Yep. The plan is right now is to just work on one of the two main stories for season 18, then do one of the two stories made for season 9, and then go back to season 18 to do the last story, and then do the final story left for season 9, and then I'll figure out from that point forward. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Take a video. Oh wait, before I end it, there's one more thing I need to discuss before I end the video. And that being another Doctor Who novel. This being one of Lethbridge-Stewart's novels, the second one of the first series, the Schizoid Earth, taking place not long after the previous novel, where basically Colonel Lethbridge-Stewart, because he's not Brigadier yet, he actually goes to the location where they had the original story featuring the Yeti, well, the Abominable Snowman story, where they go to Tibet, he runs the Travelers again, and then when he's like flying to go back to, I think it was like some other place to get out of Tibet, where he's there for a while, he ends up like unintentionally he thinks he time traveled. Yeah, he thinks he time traveled, but it turns out he kind of ended up on sort of an alternate Earth, kind of. We met up with somebody who thought he was dead. This guy named James Lethbridge-Stewart, who apparently is Alistair's older brother. I'm like, that's interesting. It's a very interesting idea. At one point, it seems like Travelers himself died. The original Travelers, Edward Travelers, the one from the Abominable Snowman and War of Fear. But that didn't happen here, per se. By the way, unit is still not formed yet. This is basically still the stuff between War of Fear and the invasion. It's basically what Lethbridge was up to. And they do mention that it is the year. They do mention the year here that these books are set in 1969, which is the same year as, well, Web of Fear. It's overall a really interesting book, per se. If you're really curious how many pages are in the book, well, the book itself is only 269 pages. Now, the very next book is actually a sequel story to actually a fourth Doctor story. I'll talk about that another time I get my hands on it, but this book is amazing. It's like, I'll talk about this English novel of Depend, which turned out just a base for British servicemen. But overall, excellent book overall. I give it roughly a 9 out of 10. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Next up, well, this is me anime. First up, the final episode of Season 8 for My Hero Academia. Okay, next video. Bye.